So in the video today, I'm going to show you how to start treating your tennis elbow. The tennis elbow is lateral epicondylitis. It's basically starting as an inflammation of where your common wrist extensors attach onto the outside of your elbow. So this can be from a lot of DIY, usually like painting, hammering, sometimes using a screwdriver, just basically increasing the load of those wrist extensors that then cause an aggravation of the attachment onto the outside of your elbow. So in the initial stages there is some inflammation around there, but as time settles down, the inflammation settles as well, and you just get landed up with some really irritated and painful scar tissue as it attaches onto the outside of your elbow. So in this video I'm going to show you how to release the wrist extensors to try and settle down some of the pull on that irritated spot, and then some home tips to try and settle down that pain, as well as some exercises to strengthen up those wrist extensors, because strengthening helps to actually settle down the pain. So I'm going to go through those now. Let's see how we get on. So this exercise we're going to do is for the initial phase of healing. So when you still have pain at rest, and this pain would be localized to your elbow or coming further down your forearm. It's been shown that if you do an isometric contraction, that really helps to settle down the pain. So we're going to do this contraction. You're going to hold it for 30 to 45 seconds. You're going to do it 4 or 5 times, and you're going to do it every single day. So what you're going to do is hold on to a weight. This is just a 2 kilo weight, but you can go slightly heavier or slightly lighter depending on your pain. The pain mustn't exceed 4 or 5 out of 10, and it mustn't aggravate the pain the following day or for an hour or so after the session. So what you're going to do then is hold onto the weight, and you're going to let it hang over perhaps the armrest of your chair or over your knee. Set your shoulder right so that everything is stable up at the top here, and you're just going to hold this position for, as I said, 30 to 45 seconds so that you feel that contraction that's happening there, but you're not poking the bear by doing repetitions. Your weight, you're going to let it hang off the edge of your armrest, set your shoulder nicely, and you're going to allow that hand to drop down as slow as you can. So between 4 and 8 seconds. Then you're going to use your good hand to help lift it back up, and then you're going to lower again slowly. So if you can imagine this muscle attaching from here and into your fingers, you can see that it's lengthening and strengthening at the same time. The trick is here though that you don't overload the tendon, so you use your good hand to help it back up and then lower down slowly. Again, this will be mildly painful but mustn't exceed 4 or 5 out of 10. And mustn't be sore an hour afterwards, and definitely not the following day. If you do, you're going too fast or too heavy. So this, you would again do 3 sets of 8 to 12, and do it every second day so that you give yourself time to heal in between. This is to now increase that tendon capacity and increase its strength. So this last exercise, for the wrist extensors, you're going to go through the full range. So again, you're going to go over the edge of your couch or bench, set your shoulder correctly, and then you're going to flex all the way and then extend. So all the way into full flexion, all the way into full extension, going through that full range nice and slowly. This you can do 3 to 4 times a week. And again, stick with the 3 sets of 8 to 12. Again, the pain can go up to about a 4 or 5 out of 10. Don't let it exceed that. And it mustn't be painful the hour afterwards or the next day. Often you'll find that using the wrist extensors, particularly with a rotational movement, so like opening a door or using a screwdriver, will also aggravate your elbow. That just means that the supinator muscles, which also attach onto that lateral epicondyle, are also aggravated. So to strengthen that, you'll also do this in that 3rd stage where you're going through the full flexion and extension of your wrist, but now you're going to add that supination and pronation. So you're just going to grab a weight and allow your wrist to fall over that way. So that would be into supination, And then to strengthen that supinator, you're going to then bring it back. You can take it all the way if you can control it. And this way you're strengthening the supinators and pronators, but ultimately you're trying to get to the supinators, which also have the same attachment. Also, this would be done 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps, 3 to 4 times a week. So I'm going to go through some self-massage techniques now that you can try and help to settle down that elbow. So the extensors all attach from the outside of your elbow there and all the way into your hand. They are your wrist extensors, and if you lift and lower your wrist, you'll feel them working underneath your fingers there. So when these muscles are overloaded, when you've done a lot of hammering and painting and whatnot, these muscles get really tight. So you can work through these muscles until you feel that there's a spot that's really giving you some trouble. Sometimes it will refer down into your hand. Once you've worked over it a few times, you'll see that the spots that are troublesome do give you a little bit of a red flare up, and those indicate where you need to work a little bit harder. So when you feel a spot, like I have one in there, you're then going to just hold that spot and wait for it to settle down. So sometimes it takes a couple of seconds, sometimes up to a minute or even longer, but you just sustain that pressure until it settles. Then when it settles on, you can move to the next one. This pain in your elbow is where the tendon attaches on, so it's best not to poke at that too much unless you've had some training in massage and specific soft tissue mobilization, but for now you're just going to try and loosen up this muscle. Also, over a spot like that, you can then add that flexion and extension. So you pin it down and add that so that you're gliding that tendon underneath to try and loosen up some restriction. And again, you would go until the pain has settled. When these are no longer giving you any pain, you can then do it with some rotation. So you would go down along that muscle until you feel that spot, and then you would pin it down and just add some rotation. And keep going with that until it settles down. So in order to stretch this muscle, you're going to pop your hand behind your back and stretch it over using your hand. Make sure that your elbow is staying locked, and to add a bit of a radial nerve stretch, which is the nerve that also goes through there, you're going to turn your head over sideways and back to the middle about 10 times. Okay. I'm going to show you now how to strap your tennis elbow with some kinesio tape. So the first one we're going to do is for the extensor muscles. This you would only use for the first little bit while that muscle is settling down. So what you're going to do is you're going to attach a piece of tape onto the common extensor tendon and just over. If you've got someone to help you, do that. Then you're going to flex your wrist, and then with the muscle flexed, you're then going to lay the tape down over the muscle with no stretch in the tape. And then just rub it to activate the glue. So that helps to give the extensor tendon a little bit of support. The next thing you're going to do then is to provide a compression just below the tennis elbow itself, so below that lateral epicondyle, and this is basically to create a bit of a pressure there from which the tendon can then work further down instead of aggravating and pulling on that like bruised bone feeling over there. So with this, you're going to take the tape and tear it so that you are now free in the middle. Then you basically apply that like a bit of a plaster. So now if you place a little bit of elastic, so you're going to see I'm going to pull that and place that over where the pain is. So there's a little bit of pressure. Then you can take this part, still with your wrist in flexion. You're then going to add a little bit of a pull and come around. And then with this side as well. So release that. A little bit of a pull and then release as it goes around. So you mustn't try and cut off your circulation. The only pressure is over the tendon. And as time settles down, this will be the only one that you use, just your gladiator kind of bangle. And then that you could put on just before you do your repetitive movements. If you're going to be painting or doing a lot of typing or so, then you can use that. Otherwise, if you've seen in the pharmacies, you'll see that you can get a tennis elbow strap, and that does more or less the same thing. It's just something that you can use as a compressive force. You would just use it while you were busy and then loosen it the rest of the day. Hope that helps.